Probably has something to do with how expensive everything is.
My stepfather, for instance, he had 7 or 8 brothers, sisters. I'm an only child.
Because they can't even afford a home now, and so then they delay having their children.
I feel like we already have enough people on the planet.
If something happens in terms of war, we find ourselves in very unstable times. Who would choose to fight for Canada if they don't identify themselves as Canadian?
Canada's current birth rate is at historic lows, 1.33. The year prior it was at 1.43, and replacement level is 2.1. So this is clearly a major issue in this country, but no one seems to be addressing it at a political level. There are many reasons as to why Canadians are not having as many children anymore. For one reason, housing is now so expensive that the dream of owning a home is out of reach for many young Canadians. Not just housing, but general affordability. Everything is extremely expensive. Canada's tax rates are also not conducive to raising families. In order to solve Canada's demographic problem, the government has looked to mass immigration to turn this trend around. Millions of people have entered Canada over the past few years, and as Canada's fertility rate has reached record lows, Canada's growth rate, Canada's population has reached record highs. Is this the direction that we should be heading in as a country? And what do Canadians actually think about this? Is Canada's declining birth rate an issue to them? Well, we're here in downtown Toronto to ask locals about this issue. Is it an issue to them? Are they concerned about it? Why or why not? Let's see what they have to say. We're doing a video and asking Canadians if they're concerned about Canada's declining birth rates. It's well below replacement level, and we're just wondering if it's ever an issue that's crossed anyone's mind.
I'm very concerned. We need to have at least at replacement level, or our country's going to suffer.
And what do you think? Yeah, what do you think needs to be done in order to motivate Canadians to have more children and to start having more families?
Supporting the nuclear family, maybe a little bit more insight into what happens when countries don't support their, at least have replacement level birth rates.
And do you think that it's a problem for the country to rely on immigration to solve your population problems rather than at what we're doing now, which is relying on immigration? We're not having enough children naturally. So do you think that's an issue?
I think it complicates national identity and a bit of assimilation into culture. If you have immigrants coming in, it's been kind of the idea that you want to assimilate to culture to still maintain the Canadian identity. If people are born other places, they may not want to assimilate or identify themselves as, national people from Canada.
Yeah.
And, a simple example that I've heard of and people have talked about is, for example, if something happens in terms of war, we find ourselves in very unstable times. Who would choose to fight for Canada if they don't identify themselves as Canadian?
Declining birth rate?
Everybody I know is pregnant or has kids, so I don't think so.
Wow, because Canada's birth rate is at 1.33 and it's been dropping year over year. And
Probably has something to do with how expensive everything is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you think that it should be a concern that political leaders take seriously?
Absolutely.
100%.
Certainly something, I've been aware of. If you think about, back when, my stepfather, for instance, he had 7 or 8 brothers, sisters. I'm an only child.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'd see it as an issue. It's not something I've actually given that much thought to. I'm sorry if that's not.
No, not a problem. We're wondering also if you think Canadians should be wanting to have more children. We're obviously not having many children as we were in the past, but we are having a population issue. Our population is aging, and we're wondering if people think it would be wise for Canadians to have larger families.
I think that's very individual. It's a lot harder, I think. Things are more expensive.
Right.
It's a little more difficult. People don't have as much support, I don't think. Daycare, education, it's pretty stressful.
I think it's because mainly the political, it's very unstable, the political arena. Nobody has really any confidence in political officials, and we're having a lot of radical ideology being legislated and putting into effect. I was going on my Instagram the other day and I couldn't read a post because the new legislation, and it wasn't anything. It was just a story about Mexico, something about Mexico. So it wasn't anything so far left, so far right. It was just I don't really know why I wasn't able to read it, but those type of nuances I think affect people's mindset about bringing people into the world, bringing new people in the world, having to deal with those things. And it's really unstable right now in Canada. We have like high inflation, and they said it's coming down. Nobody really knows if that's happening. There's a lot of uncertainty. So I think that's basically like the foundation of why I think people might not want to have families and might not want to bring new people into the world, because there's a lot of uncertainties and things going on that we don't know when it's going to be fixed.
Why do you think it is that young Canadians just aren't having children anymore at the same rate they used to?
I don't know. I think it's part of the culture, but I think in terms of sustaining an economy or the way it's designed right now, it's important to maintain kind of that median. Yeah, I mean, it should be concerning because just in terms of maintaining the structure of the economy, well, you need a certain amount of population for the amount of same in for out.
Right, exactly.
In a sense. So yeah, it should be concerning, but I wasn't aware, to be frank with you.
I just think we need more of a population in Canada.
And why do you
Spurs on our growth.
And why do you think it is that Canadians are not having as many children as they were in the past?
Part of it is financial because they can't even afford a home now, and so then they delay having their children.
So do you think that there needs to be some solutions put in place that are designed to increase or to motivate young Canadians to have larger families? Do you think that it should be a political issue?
Well, I think it rests actually with poverty rates, and dealing with poverty in Canada will be a first step.
I just came in January, so I don't have any.
You did? All right.
Yeah, I'm a student here. I think it's education, or I guess it's a drug issue here.
Right.
Yeah, because I am from Nova Scotia. I am studying in CBU, so there are too many druggists there.
I guess the world always needs people, right?
Yeah.
Jobs and whatever else, right? So
Housing and jobs and just general affordability, you think, is the main issue?
definitely.
Canada's declining birth rates. It's at 1.3 and replacement is 2.1 children per woman. And is that an issue that you're concerned about or not so much?
Not so much for me, but
And why is that?
because I feel like I guess children aren't really my concern, and I know a lot of other women that also preface like work over children. So I feel like we already have enough people on the planet.
Yeah, so you
It may
would
be
say
more environmental having a little less people.
so you would say that it's generally a positive outcome that most of the developed countries are having fewer children than they used to in the past?
I guess so.
Well, unsurprisingly, the majority of people that we spoke to in Toronto never even thought about Canada's declining fertility rate as an issue. It wasn't something that crossed their minds. However, when we did speak to them about it and when we gave them some more information, they provided the reasons that most Canadians think of as to why this is an issue. Housing affordability, general affordability, the cost of food, taxes, all of that plays a role into Canada's declining fertility rate. But isn't it strange that this is not an issue that most people are thinking about? In my opinion, it should be top of mind for most people. Mass immigration and the problems that mass immigration have brought to Canada is a direct result of the fact that we're no longer having as many children. We have to rely on immigrants, according to the government, in order to solve our demographic problems because our birth rate is declining. Let me know in the comments what you think are the reasons as to why Canadians are not having as many children. Is it the same as what you heard in the video here today? That housing is too expensive, that it's too difficult to get into the job market for too many Canadians? Or is it another reason perhaps? Or is there perhaps something else that is driving the declining birth rates in this country? If you want to see us do more content about this issue, about the declining birth rates in Canada, also let us know in the comments as well. For now, signing off from downtown Toronto, Harrison Faulkner.